Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show Live. It's our EFL weekend review. We're taking a look at Leeds United and Huddersfield Town. I'm Stephen Brown, and I'm delighted to say I'm joined by our resident Leeds United fan, Jayson Booker. And we've also got our Huddersfield Town correspondent as well. It is Stephen Downs. Welcome back to the show, Steve. We missed you on Friday for the transfer deadline one.
Yes, I watched the full 3 and whatever hours it was. It was a superb show.
Yeah, I respect that. I respect
honestly,
it.
Yeah, I went out on the Friday night with my mate, and we were out quite late. And then Saturday morning, I woke up with the worst headache I've had for a few years because we'd drunk. I had at least 3 whiskies. And anyway, I watched the full 3.5 hours from 7:30 in the morning because I couldn't go back to sleep. So yeah, it was a great show. It was a bit boring on the Town front, except for obviously my 10-minute stint, which I didn't really say anything. But yeah, I loved it.
Good stuff. What a trooper. Did you like the video, can I say? Did you press the like button?
I'll be honest. I think I was still a bit drunk, to be honest. So
right,
go
back. You need to like
I'll go back. I shared it. I definitely shared it.
Oh, that's all right then. We'll take that. Yeah, if you're watching along live or if you're watching this later, please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well for more content from our teams across West Yorkshire. We'll be back later this week with Chris, Lewis and the guys for a non-league show as well. But we're focusing on the Championship tonight. Our Gaz is away at the moment on holiday. Lucky him for Bradford City coverage, but we might throw a mention their way. We'll see how we feel. But we've got plenty to discuss. Who do I come to first? Who wants to take kickers off? Now, me and Jayson, we normally do a match reaction video to the Leeds United games that are happening. We couldn't do it, unfortunately, this weekend. So we'll start off with that. Seeing as we didn't do our usual video.
Yeah, get the depressing bit.
Get the depressing stuff out of the way. Jayson, sum up your thoughts. Leeds United 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0.
It kind of just goes in tandem with everything that we've experienced at the beginning of the season, really, doesn't it? With the exception of Ipswich, it's all felt a little bit like the Sheffield Wednesday game at the weekend. You know, whether it be Cardiff on the opening day or whether it be West Brom at home, Birmingham away had a similar kind of feel to the weekend a little bit at times. And then, even the 2 cup games, and especially the Salford game, which, I mean, we spoke about it, and I genuinely not bothered. I were over it by the next morning. We didn't lose the game in 90 minutes. We ended up losing on penalties. We had 26 shots within the box. And that kind of felt a little bit like what we experienced at the weekend. You know, all the build-up, right up until getting to the box, and then a little bit of lack of cutting edge to make that little bit extra work. And then when we did get the moments, we just didn't have the clinical finish. Even Pirro had a bit of an off day, had a poor performance overall, and then the moments that he did have in front of goal, he kind of dragged a couple wide, and it were definitely there for us. But Sheffield Wednesday also had a couple of chances in the last 20 minutes or so. They could have then ended up nicking the game, but they were poor. They were really poor. Positives, we got a clean sheet. It's the first since February. And, you know, like, I've seen people back and forward on what that means, considering who we were playing. But I think regardless, that team have become so used to conceding goals, especially Meslier, Struijk, Ayling, some of the players that were here last season. You know, getting any sort of clean sheet has to be a massive, massive boost. So, you know, I knew we were going to be probably in and around mid-table for the first couple of months. And lo and behold, that's exactly where we are. So, you know, the fact that it's not polished and perfect, even against Sheffield Wednesday at home, I think it's exactly where we kind of expected us to be. So I think we just have to take it for what it is right now. It's another point on the board. It's a clean sheet. And hopefully after a couple of weeks of the international break, we'll come back and we'll look a little bit more fluid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost glad that we didn't get to do a video straight after, because I was very flat, a little bit down in the dumps about the result. I'd built it up in my head that we were going to get a comfortable 2-3 or potentially even 4-0 victory. I really thought it was really going to click for us and we were going to actually have a comfortable victory. But lo and behold, it didn't quite work out. I was actually driving back to this neck of the woods, listening to the game, and I could even tell just by listening to it what kind of game we were watching. And you're absolutely right. It was kind of everything kind of mixed together from what we've seen. already, really.
Football's like that, though, isn't it, Brownie? Sometimes, like at the end of the day, like Sheffield, it's a derby. Like you need to remember that. Yeah, they are poor, and they probably will finish rock bottom. I think this season. Look, at the Cisco and everything else around them, like the quality of the players as well. They just don't have really a championship quality team. But they came with a very intent game plan of sitting back and making it as difficult as possible. And regardless of the opposition, if a team comes and sits 11 players behind the ball, it's very, very difficult to score, especially considering, players are still getting to grips with the tactics and the style, getting to grips with each other. Like it's a brand new, fresh team. We had 3 signings that barely even featured. A couple of them didn't even make the squad because it was either too late or everything else that's gone on. So there's a lot to go through yet, but you have to look at it, in my opinion, and take the positives out of the game. And I still think there were some. I still think there were plenty of positives to enjoy, and that is it's where we are for now. But I want 2 down in the. Yeah, sure, we wanted 3 points. Like, getting that first home win of the season is going to be nice because we really probably should have had it by now. But it just is what it is for now. I think I'm not worried.
There's a stat going around. We've not scored the first goal in any game this season. I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Which is kind of
even in the cup games as well.
Yeah, absolutely bonkers. Some moments of promise though. I thought Jed Spence. I thought he looked electric when he came on. Farker, why is he leaving substitution so late? Though? I was screaming for him to shake it up or do something a little bit earlier on.
I saw Jay mention it on one podcast that we're watching over the last couple of days, and he says straight away he just doesn't trust the bench. And you know what? It makes a lot of sense when you consider the fact that the only subs he made were Glenn Kamara, who'd signed 2 days before, and Jed Spence, who'd signed 2 days before. He brought both of them on in the last 10-15 minutes. And I, same as you, I was very frustrated that there weren't changes a bit earlier. I said to you on the day, Archie needed to come off way before he did. Not throwing shade at Archie. He's done unbelievably well for the 17-year-old this season, but he was a passenger in that second half. The game was just going on around him and he weren't getting involved. It needed somebody that could put a foot on ball and deal with a little bit of the pressure and show a bit of composure in them moments, and he weren't able to do it. Spence coming on, I mean, he showed more in that 10-minute cameo that he had than we've seen from any fullback in 3 years, I'd say. Like, it was sensational. Like, if he couldn't get round you, he was just running through you. Like, and
unbelievable.
His speed is so quick. And I've obviously seen him play before, but I never really acknowledged just how tall he was. He's massive. So yeah, super impressed with him. I just can't see him playing again. Like I can't. While he's fit, I can't see him playing.
You can't. There's too much ability. I mean, defensively going forward, he's just another level completely.
He's a winger at fullback as well.
Talk to me about Jorginho Rutter, because it's interesting actually when you've not. I managed to watch the second half. Didn't hear the first. I didn't see the first half, and it's interesting looking at people's opinions on Rutter over the weekend. Some clips of him doing some very nice stuff. Obviously, I had a terrible miss. That miss in the second half just haunts my dreams ever since Saturday, to be fair. But I mean, I've got little concern about Jorginho Rutter. I think he's verging into that territory. And someone actually pointed this out on Twitter. They said it reminds them of Brian Dean. You remember Brian Dean?
Yeah.
In just a kind of like, he's a bit gangly, a bit kind of not quite in control of himself. He does one good thing and 5 bad things.
He'll score you 8 goals in 38 games, but he'll never be that prolific number 9. I know exactly what you mean. I think with Jorginho at the weekend, like if you took away the moments where he was directly in front of goal shooting, you'd be happy with everything else. Like he linked play up really, really well. He's really strange when it comes to his running ability. Like he's really quick over 5 yards, but then really slow over 10. I don't even know how that happens, but it seems like his turn of pace is really quick. But then if he's in a foot race with somebody, he just completely loses any momentum that he's got. It's a really strange one. But there were a couple of moments where he linked up play really, really well. He just didn't have the composure to do what he was trying to do in that chance that he had. He had a couple though. It weren't just that one. He had a couple of moments, and he's always offside. Like he literally gets caught offside all the time, which tells you he's not an out-and-out 9. He's not used to sitting on that shoulder. He's getting caught out by the defenders just pushing up 2 yards.
Well, that leads us on to the Pirro point, Jason. Sorry to interrupt, but why was Pirro not playing up front? Why have we signed him, and why we're playing him basically in midfield at the moment? That was frustrating to watch. I've got to say.
I find it really hard to question Farke because I really rate him and I like him, but I can't answer that question. I don't understand it at all. I've seen a lot of people that had seen a lot more of Joe Pereira than me say that he wasn't going to be right for the style under Farke. He wasn't going to fit in as this out-and-out Teemu Pukki number 9. And maybe we're seeing a little bit of that. Maybe Farke actually sees him more as the player that plays behind another striker, i.e. Rutter or Bamford, and he plays in and around. Because if you look at a lot of Pereira's goals, they're from outside the box. The long distance strikes. Yeah, he scores a few that are put through as well. A bit like the kind of sniffing out the goal against Ipswich as an example. He scores them as well. But maybe we are just assuming he's more that natural out and out number 9 than he is. Maybe he's not that. I can't say that I've seen a lot of him before then watching highlight reels and stuff. And seeing goals is different. It seems to me that he's a striker that arrives late. He's not one that tends to run onto a load of through balls. And I think that's where maybe this concern is and why he's putting him in this number 10 role. I don't see it happening long term. I personally, because I just don't think Rutter's the man to play the 9. But what I think we'll see over time, maybe Mr. Patrick Bamford hasn't been completely written out.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It feels like the door's a little bit ajar for him because actually, I was just thinking that this morning. I was thinking, actually, if Patrick Bamford had come on about 75th minute or 70th minute that game, just give us something a bit different and throw himself about a bit. Maybe that's kind of what we needed, but we'll wait and see on that one.
Everything apart from physically putting the ball past the goalkeeper for Bamford, he's way above a championship level striker. Yeah. I really rate Patrick Bamford, especially take away his injury. His injury issues. Like if you can get him playing, he's a super intelligent footballer. He without a doubt he is. So yeah, if he could link up to then Pirro being the man that's putting the ball in the back of the net, then it could definitely work. The problem with Bamford is we're never going to see a fully fit version again. It's just, we can only base on the last 2 years and we've not seen it. So I just don't see it happening. I see it being more a position for Rutter and maybe even Joseph to pin down, to be honest.
One thing I'm concerned about, because teams are going to come to Ellen Road especially, and they're going to do this. They're going to shut up shop. The amount of inexperience we've got across that front line. I know it's helped a little bit with Pirro, Jayden Anthony arriving, obviously, championship experience and a couple of years older than the rest. But, Somerville, Monto, Rutter, very raw. With Sinisterra going, are we just lacking that final bit of guile and cutting edge potentially going forward?
I think experience is the big word to put in that. Just having that air of composure and calmness when you do manage to work that one moment to then make sure you put it into the right position, which is what Sinisterra will do. That sometimes Nonto, especially at the weekend, I thought Nonto was excellent second half. I thought it was really challenging the fullback. Yeah. But he would then play the ball across, and it was putting it into a space rather than actually trying to pick out a target. And there's a big difference when you're then looking for that one moment, especially when you've got 10 players in the box trying to defend it. So yeah, you could well be right. I think the signing of Jayden Anthony, I think he's going under the radar because of the way that the day kind of panned out and the fact that we lost Sinisterra in the process. But I think it's a top signing. The more and more I kind of think about it and watch him and see his strengths, I just think it's a top signing. Like if we'd have sold Sinisterra 3 weeks ago and then the replacement came in last week at some point and it'd been Jayden Anthony and we'd have signed him for 8 million or whatever it would cost to take him from Bournemouth, would be like, that's a really good replacement. Considering the fact that he played 41 games in the season that they got promoted, 15 goal contributions, 8 goals, 7 assists, something like that, whatever it was. It's a top signing. He played 31 games last season in the Premier League, played more than Sinisterra did in the Premier League, got more assists than Sinisterra did in the Premier League last season. And he started 2 out of the 3 games this season under Iriola. So I can't see any negatives in it. We're more likely going to get more games out of him than Sinisterra. I just think the only disappointment with it is that we didn't find that number 10. that I think, feel we desperately need. It's clear that we wanted Amiri, so it's clear that we'd identified the number 10 as the problem spot. I do think he'll end up going with Gruev, Ampadu, and Kamara. I think that's how I think one of them will come out. I think it'll probably be Rutter, and I think it'll be Somerville non-term, Pirro long-term. I think that's how we'll see it probably play out.
Yeah, hopefully we've got plenty of options there. Anyways, we've kept him waiting long enough.
Just before I finish, big shout out to Ethan Ampadu. Just what a player! Honestly, the second that I saw him, I thought this kid shouldn't be playing at this level. And every single week he plays, I just think this. Honestly, £7 million. It's the signing of the season. It's a better signing than Pirro. It's a better signing than Spence for me. And I know we're going to see good stuff from Spence, but that lad, I'd almost say he offers us more than Calvin did when we were in the Championship. I think he's that good.
Yeah,
he's better in the tackle than Calvin. He hasn't got the ability to spray passes like Calvin did, but he's still got it in his locker. He's better with his left foot than Calvin. He covers ground better than Calvin. He takes the ball past players better than Calvin, the box-to-box kind of position. I just think honestly, I cannot believe he's playing the Championship.
I know what bit I'm getting clipped up for Twitter tomorrow now. Ampadu better than Phillips, says Booker. Wow. That should
in the Championship.
In the Championship, yeah.
Because we've not seen him then go and do it. We've not seen him then go and do it in the Premier League, which Calvin did.
50 million Calvin Phillips. He's not as good as a £7 million Ampadu.
He's better in that role. I've never seen him midfield. Well, I'm not going to say never, because that's not true. But his ability to be able to get a foot to the ball when it looks like the opponents are in a dangerous position, it's just freaky. He just never seems to get it wrong. He's just a great player.
There is a reason why he's being sold for £7 million and to a Championship team. So there must be something crap about him. There's got to be. Otherwise, if he were that good, he'd be playing at Man City now, wouldn't he? Champions League.
I would be stunned if he's still in the Championship in 12 months' time. Absolutely stunned.
Well, yeah, there's one reason why he won't be, because he'll get sold, because he's not going up with you lot, is he?
Well, no, that's kind of my point. Like, if we don't go up, he will. For me, I can't see how we would keep hold of him. Like,
Town will buy him in a year. It's fine when we go.
They're not going to get him in League One.
Yeah, come on. Behave.
One win, and that's it.
Can I just say, you have a very inert talent, you as a football club, to sign absolute prats. I could call him a different name, but Jed Spence, my God, what a prat he is. He's one of the biggest balloon heads I think I've ever seen in my life.
Are you listening to your Mr. Warnock? I think that's what's going on here.
No, I'm not listening to Mr. Warnock. He's just a pure brat.
I like what we've heard from him so far. I think he's just a lad that knows.
You would do, wouldn't you? You would do. He didn't beat you in a playoff final and call all Town fans basically, call us all out. And
I think that was more to do again with the because it had been after the Warnock factor, wasn't it? Or before the Warnock factor?
Yeah, it was before, way before.
It was under Corbyn, wasn't it?
Yeah, he beat us in the playoff final. Put on Twitter, cigar in mouth and saying how great he was, and then he couldn't even make it a Premier League level. So
maybe he knows exactly what he's on about, Steve. I mean, it sounds like he's got a good handle on you to me.
Shut up, Jed. Shut up.
Right then, Steve, your moment has arrived. Fantastic win.
Jed's head's a shed. Sorry, I needed to say that.
Fantastic 2-1 victory against West Brom, your first victory of the season against all odds. I mean, if we can just rewind to Friday,
No, let's not.
Kind of get an idea of the context. It only adds to kind of how special the victory was. But what has been a pretty difficult start to the season, a difficult week as well. Tensions kind of emerging. It would transpire between Kevin Nagle and Warnock, just from comments passed to and from. Just to kind of use that as a starting point, I mean, what was your kind of reaction to all that? I know you did put a video out on transfer deadline, but where was your head at come Friday night?
Well, we'd obviously had Thursday, we'd had the press conference. Nagle the week before against Norwich, we'd lost 4-0. He put out after the game it was an an unacceptable performance, which is a fair comment in terms of the the kind of defeat it was, but it's not really a comment you expect your American billionaire to be making on Twitter. You expect it to be somebody saying that in Dalton, Shepley, and surrounding Huddersfield villages in the pubs, to be honest. So yeah, it all started from that. Then Warnock came out on the Thursday and basically said he was disappointed to read on the Sunday after the Norwich game that 3 of his targets had either scored goals or assisted in goals. And he said that on Thursday, and I think that clearly had rankled him, that he said all summer he wanted to get a striker in, and possibly a midfielder, but the striker was the main sort of avenue, and we've not been able to do it. And I think he had very high targets, which we couldn't afford, and then we've just ended up going so far down the list that we ended up going to Charlie Wyke, apparently, that used to play for Bradford City. So very disappointing. I think Warnock was frustrated. I think when he says things like he didn't know the players that we'd re-signed, so what he means is Ward, Karoma and Ruffles were going to be taken out of his budget. That speaks to me as I don't know what to make of that, as what's he being told. He's obviously interpreted maybe conversations differently, hasn't he? And then, his other comment about sort of he'll keep his own counsel. Well, that says to me that there are things that he thought he was going to get that and probably promised that he was going to get that he may not have now received. Obviously, we don't know. That's only ever going to be between Kevin and Warnock himself, unless Warnock comes out after he leaves us in however months and goes on TalkSport and does a tell-all thing, which he probably will do. But yeah, that was surprising that these comments were so strong, really, on the Thursday. I knew going into Friday we were never really going to sign anybody. I just knew. He said on the Thursday that he didn't think anything was going to happen. Apparently, Charlie. Sorry,
just we kind of touched on Johnson Clark Harris on the deadline day pod. And then I've read out today that it was all agreed and everything, and then there were a bit of a last-minute hiccup with him going to Bristol Rovers, right? So it's come out that we were 800,000. Why were you not in for him? 29? I just don't get it.
Apparently, we were in for him. Us, I think Derby and Bristol Rovers were in for him. Us and Derby, for some reason, turned down £1 million bid. We said, apparently, he'll come to you for £1 million, and we turned it down, and apparently so did Derby. I think he's got family in Bristol, right. So the poll was to there. I think he's played for him before.
He played for him before.
Yeah, he played for him, and I'm sure he's got family there. So there's a lot of ties to Bristol. That obviously hasn't gone through for whatever reason. That's between Bristol and Peterborough. But I personally would have. He's not apparently a great character to have, from what I've been told. But he's a striker and he scores goals. I mean,
he'll put the ball in the net, mate.
His goal to ratio is very good, actually. When you look at the Championship forward, it's not bad. And he's quite a hefty character up there, isn't he? He'll put himself about. He don't mind going into tackles and that sort of thing. So he's probably the perfect sort of centre forward for us in Warnock style. So I was surprised that we didn't go for him. We were apparently in for Charlie Blackett at Charlton. That didn't happen either. Charlie Wyke. So we did try. I don't think there's any fan out there that doesn't think the club didn't try. But there seems to be this element of players not wanting to come to us because of where we are. I think the last few years has been quite damaging, really. Although we're this ex-Premier League team, that's now about as far away as you can possibly get with how the club is viewed amongst football players. We've got Ben Wiles in from Rotherham. I think that's an outstanding bit of business, really, because he seems like a really good lad, a good player. He had a very good debut against West Brom. one of the best I've seen really for the Town players. He was exceptional, to be honest. Ran himself into the ground, and he's not fully fit yet because obviously he had a bad injury at the end of last season. Gone and signed for us, and then I think he's only played a few games for Rotherham at the beginning of this year. So, he's not been properly up to speed. So that was a good signing. And then we've got Delano Bergzorg, who scored his first goal against West Brom, the first of the 2 goals, and he had a very excellent debut as well. But again, he's not an out-and-out centre forward. He comes from the left. He's a Rajiv Van La Parra, basically double. So we still, and then to compound it really, we loaned out Kieran Phillips, young lad. He's gone to Shrewsbury, very talented player. And Jordan Rhodes has gone to Blackpool, and he scored on his debut for Blackpool. So when I saw that Jordan Rhodes had scored for Blackpool, that sort of compounded the whole issue, to be quite honest. So yeah, I was disappointed on the Friday that we didn't get anybody in. To answer your question, I thought we needed a striker. I did, and I still do. But we're not. I mean, there's free agents now. That's the thing. There's what's his name? Andre Gray at Burnley. He's just been terminated. There's a few out there, but it's down to wage demand, isn't it? If they're not interested in coming and playing for a tuppence, threepenny pence, wage, then they're not going to sign, are they? That's the problem.
So fast forward 24 hours after that, and the feeling couldn't have been much different. I mean,
I was very flat, Steve. I'll be honest. Friday night, I was very. You said you were flat after the Wednesday game. I was probably flatter than you. I was probably as flat as a Pro Walker's crisps. And how flat they can get. So yeah,
all the signs just pointed to not getting that result against West Brom, to be honest, and the fact that also it's Carlos Corbrand's West Brom as well. It just added another factor that you thought, this is destined to not end well for Town. But I mean, talk to us about that game and that performance, Steve.
Yeah, well, West Brom, I watched them against you guys a couple of weeks before, and I thought they were a solid side, but you could get at them, as you guys proved. There are definitely chances against them. They sometimes lack concentration. They've got big lads at the back that are not the best on the ball, but as we know, Corbrand loves to play out from the back, and if you're not a defender that has been used to doing that in your career, that's difficult to do.
Keeper looks so uncomfortable doing it.
Well, yeah, he's
so bad.
He's like Iorfa at Wednesday. They're very similar in terms of the big lads, strong lads, and good old fashioned centre backs. If you want to get up for a header, be muscly, strong, but when it comes to footballing technical ability, they are not your type of centre backs for a coach like Carlos Corbrand. So I thought, well, you never know. It'd be such a Town thing to do. We've had a crap week, rubbish result against Norwich, all the fuss and drama that's gone on in the midweek, and it'd be just us to go and win at West Brom. And it was just like the perfect sort of tonic, really. Bergzorg the goal he scored was absolutely superb. In fact, it was like slow motion when the ball came off his chest and then he took it past the defender and volleyed it in. What a superb goal that was.
I think it surprised the keeper that. How fast?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did, because he took it so fast on his chest. I don't think the keeper saw him take it on his chest, and then as the ball's fallen, he's hit it so hard. I mean, I'd love to know the stats of how hard he hit the ball, because it rocketed into that bottom corner. Keeper, I don't think you could have had a world-class keeper saving that. And then John Swift, who loves a goal against us, he came up with an equaliser. Not great defending. Once again, we every goal we seem to concede this season is from a sloppy mistake or not tracking back or rubbish defending. So that was the same. I was very I just thought when they scored, I was like, I can't believe they've scored this. We've played so well. We've ran us absolute nuts off all game up to that point, and then we've conceded the most basic of defending goals again. But we came back and we started again really well. And then to win it, there's no better feeling, lads, is there, when you win a game so late on. And the fact that Lee Nichols made an unbelievable save.
Incredible.
in the 96th minute, and it was a bit like, remember that game in the playoffs against Leicester v Watford when they missed the penalty? It was like that. It was as quick as that when Nichols saved the strike that Madger had, and then it was clipped forward and it came to Harrott on the wing, and for him to look up a young kid like that that's 20, 21, and to have the composure to just chip it across to Rodoni, who's another young kid, 20, 22, and I've spoke about him a lot on the channel, and for him to put that finish in, I was delighted for Rodoni because he gets a lot of criticism, and he has done, and yeah, fair enough, some of it's warranted where he hasn't performed in the past, and he does have off games, but he's going to be a superb talent, and alongside Wiles, I think they can become a really good midfield pairing.
He had one ruled out early on, didn't he, Rodoni?
Lovely volley as well. That was a lovely volley, that wasn't it?
Well, they said it was a push, and I get why it was given, but realistically, come on, it's not. Yeah. He didn't assault the West Brom defender. It was Helic at the back who pushed him, and the ball came to Rodoni. So we could have won it 3-1. But I was honestly, when we scored that last goal, I was running around in my living room. It was brilliant.
No, not surprised. Adam Cottrell, 2 excellent finishers, and Town up and running. Indeed, certainly feels that way. It's been going for kind of like a 3-5-2 so far this season. I saw today in the Examiner they were saying it was because they're playing technical sides like Leicester, etc. But mixed it up and changed it against West Brom, and immediately all the players look more comfortable really with what their jobs were that they needed to do there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, because on the end of last season, when you have to remember this squad is virtually the same as what it was last season, we played 3-5-2 for the majority of them fixtures because we were playing against the better sides. 11 of the last 15 games were against the top 10 teams. So he had to. The reason we've played 3-5-2 is because our defenders, Pearson, Lees when he's back, and Helic are not the quickest. The good centre backs. Although every goal we've conceded this year has been sloppy, they are good centre backs, and they can be. They can play really well, but they're just not the quickest. So we need them wing backs to come back and add the pace. So 3-5-2 suits us because then in the middle you've got your sort of trio of Hogg, now Wiles and Rodoni, and I think that's going to be a really good midfield partnership. I mean, Hoggy had his best game for a bit, to be honest. He marching around the pitch, kicking people, just pure Jonathan Hogg, really.
He had the most tackles, interceptions, and blocks, apparently.
Yeah, what a player he is. To play for a club for 10 years, and it don't matter what manager we've had. We've had technical managers, we've had old school managers, we've had Scottish idiot managers. It don't matter what manager we've had. They've all praised his work ethic, his desire, and his absolute humbleness to play for Huddersfield Town Football Club.
It's a bit like Cooper, isn't it? It's a bit like Cooper, that. I think a lot of Leeds fans jump on back of him, but all managers have picked him and all managers have kept him as captain as well.
But the thing is, the passion that he has for our football club is just, and he's not even a Town fan. That's the great thing. He's born again Middlesbrough lad, and you just have to watch him in games. I mean, whenever we give a goal away, he's just so there's just blue and white running through his blood. You cut him open, and that's all that bleeds out. I can't praise the guy high enough, to be honest. And it'll be a very, very sad day when he gives up football for our club. I hope we put him in the coaching staff and just, lock him away in the ground somewhere.
Keep him forever.
You know what I mean? But it was delightful that we've got off the first game. I think the atmosphere after the game, if we would have lost that game, would have been the most toxic. I think we would have gone back to the Phil Hodgkinson days. That's how toxic it would have been. But it's given that there's a little bit of breath now. I think international breaks come at the right time, and everybody can relax now for a week and just take a breath. And because there's been start to the season, but a very dramatic and heavily information laid last 5 months, and it's quite tiring. Jay says over time, we you lot, that it's quite draining. I think it has been a draining 5 months for not just the supporters, but everybody in the football club because of the amount of information and the amount of waiting that's had to happen with the ownership and how he's gone about and handled things, into certain situations. And now I think it just gives everybody time to breathe and then come back after the international break. And hopefully we've got some fixtures then that we can really, take on and against sides that we'd like to think we can have a real good go at,
Yeah, no, indeed. I just wanted to get your take on Corberan's comments after I did see a headline slightly clickbaity where he said Lee Nichols won the game for you with that save. But then when you actually read the interview, he said, they didn't deserve to beat Huddersfield, which I guess was about as magnanimous as you were going to get from a former manager.
No, that's fine. I've got, we've played two excellent Town managers, it seems, in this, and we did last season. We played them in, can the EFL stop putting Norwich and West Brom so close in fixtures because I can't handle it. But they're two very different managers. Wagner will always be loved, and Corberan will always be not loved. And I think I don't want to say hater because that's a strong word, but not loved. And he's a very magnanimous man, but there are things that I can never forgive the fact that he did, and to not come out and speak the truth of why he left and the way he left and in the manner he left. I think that was wrong. So, good luck to him at West Brom. He's doing what he's doing there. I think Baggies fans are getting very frustrated with him. I will be honest. I think, watching some of the blogs and that, I think the after the style of football that they've been through with Bruce and Allardyce and all that sort of stuff, I think they don't mind the style of football and the change, but when they're not seeing results or it working in, making the club go forward, I think them as a fan base are less patient than us as Town fans. Yeah. I've said before, I think we're a very sort of relaxed fan base, really. We get het up about off the field things quite easily, but when it comes to on the pitch, we're quite relaxed. Where you have fan bases like West Brom that, it want instant success within 3 weeks, and it don't work like that. And it's especially don't work with Corberan like that.
No. I thought they were really poor, mate. They are the team that I've been most surprised about when we've played them this season. I thought they were really, really poor.
Well, I've got a fellow Leeds fan who was a mate of mine, and he said that they were the worst side to come to play you lot this season.
I can certainly see why he would say that, considering the ability of the players that they've got. Players like John Swift, and they've got some technically good players. I was really disappointed.
Jed
Wallace,
a great player,
top player.
Phillips has been there for years. He's a decent player.
Matt Phillips. They've got some quality operators, especially at championship level, and they didn't look like they really ever believed they were going to win the game or even wanted to try and win the game. Really, they played it very similar to the way that Sheffield Wednesday played it at the weekend. And it's like, well, you don't need to do that. You've got more ability to be able to go and try and take the game to us, really, especially considering where we are at the moment. So
and we still didn't beat them.
I think it's got a bit of a tricky time there, Corberan.
Yeah.
The thing about
moving ship.
The thing about Corberan's style of football as well is you've got to 100% believe in it, haven't you?
Yeah.
And if you don't 100% believe in it, you're not going to succeed at it. And luckily enough, we had a group of players at Town that believed in it up until the final. Yeah, and they still believed in it in the final. We just lost to a dodgy referee and John Moss that I'll never forgive until I'm 150. So I'll never be not bitter about that final because I always will be. But yeah, if you don't believe in his football, it's like with you guys with Bielsa. If you didn't believe in Bielsa football, you were never going to succeed in it. Same with us with David Wagner, and that's the same.
No.
But yeah, it's hopefully now we've got 3 points on the board, a bit of confidence, and let's just put the transfer crap behind us and see. He might be able to find some bag of money behind one at Setties in training ground, and get a striker in that's a free agent. But I very much doubt it. I think we'll just go with what we've got now. I want to add on the Leeds thing, the Leeds game. I thought you should have had a penalty.
Definitely should have had a penalty. I can't believe I didn't mention that.
Yeah, I don't agree with anything about Leeds, but I do agree that you should have had a penalty because Iorfa did take
nowhere near the ball. Nowhere near the ball was it?
Just generally on the Championship, Sheffield Wednesday. It amazes me, does Sheffield Wednesday as a football club, because it don't matter what manager they have. They could have a Spanish manager, a French manager, a Turkish manager, Icelandic manager. They always have just a big bunch of massive heads that just don't they never have a team full of slim Jims, do they? They're all big, beefy sort of players.
Well, that's why it was good when Spence came on. When Spence came on, it felt like, we've got someone who can actually physically battle these guys.
I thought they were terrible.
But I remember when they were in League One and they still look like the same team. They just play a different football.
Apart from Bannon.
Apart from Barry Bannon, they still look like the big set of muscly Michelin man that they used to always be. It fascinates me, does Sheffield Wednesday as a football club, because
they made me last day when 20 minutes ago they're 0-0, they're still in the game and they bring on Dominic Iorfa and take off Lee Gregory, and it's like, what? And they brought on another defender. They were already playing 5 at the back and camping out as it was. And then they brought Iorfa on to try and deal with Nono, and it's like, what?
But honestly, but they're just a weird club. I think they're going down with Sheffield Wednesday. I think it.
I can't believe we didn't beat them. I just honestly can't. Just listening to you speak, I'm just like, how did we not win this game? Come on,
they're gonna get some points, aren't they? It's a Yorkshire derby, you know what I mean. I know I'm making a few excuses but I'm just at the moment. I just think we're not fluid, mate. And I think we if we're playing them after 15 games and still putting out the same performance and getting the same results, then fine. But we've got to remember where we're at. That's how I feel about it for now.
No, exactly. Some other startling results. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, the Championship this weekend, man.
Sunderland 5, Southampton 0. I mean,
right. So that game is a surefire, just spectacular Championship result. But B tells you everything about Russell Martin football. They had 69% possession, right, and still lost 5-0. And the reason that is because I've said it before, they're like a speedboat with a left-hand down brake, and they just go around in circles. They never go forward. All they do is pass the ball side to side, and that's all his football is. And if they don't score in the first 20 minutes, you've got them.
How much Ross Stewart had been feeling, man. That just makes me laugh. Like, he'd gone through the back and forward on that on transfer deadline day, and then the teams are playing the next day, and his old team beat his new team 5-0. That's brutal.
What about Chris Rigg as well, eh?
Yeah, 16.
He'll never forget.
Have you seen the picture? I mean, let me just share the picture of him. It looks like he should be going to school with my lad.
Well, he scored last year in FA Cup, didn't he? And it got ruled out for offside. Do you remember? Yeah. He scored at 15. Yeah. He came off the bench and scored in the last minute against a Premier League team, I think it was. And they ended up losing on a replay or something like that.
He'll never forget that moment.
Just brilliant, isn't it? Just
class.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
They're a really good team of Sunderland. I can't believe how good Tony Mowbray's made that side, because he's never played football, really. His sides have never played unbelievably good football. But at Sunderland, they've just found some right talent. And, these kids that just have they've just got great bravery, haven't they? They don't care, do they? It's weird.
I thought he would tread terribly at Blackburn. I thought he did a great job at Blackburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, Jay, he's not...
No, exactly.
The football he's played in his career when he's been a manager has never been as good as what he's playing at Sunderland right now. The way he's got that Sunderland side set up is unbelievable.
Blackburn were quite expansive, though, weren't they? Under him, weren't they quite?
They were more so than they were like some of his other teams. But some managers will say this here. Like, it's down to the players, isn't it, sometimes? Like, the players that you have at your disposal, you have to use what you've got. And, you know, he has got some really good, exciting, young, dynamic talent, and he's playing the football that he can play with them, I guess. So
Yeah,
absolutely. Ipswich, they got another win. I'm telling you, Ipswich, man, back-to-back promotions. That was my call from the start.
He's such a good manager, isn't he, McKenna?
Yeah.
He's such a good manager. But the thing about Ipswich as well, Ipswich and Plymouth, you won't beat them at home this season. They've got such good records. It's like trying to break into a. It's like no, but genuinely, it's them two stadiums. It's like trying to break into a 14th century French castle, isn't it?
That's why the win was so good last week. To be fair, you're absolutely spot on. Yeah, you're spot on.
But I mean, even in that game. Well, even in that game, though, like I thought Ipswich controlled large parts of it, though.
They were a good side.
You know, I was like, we didn't exactly dominate. Do you know what I mean?
The problem for teams playing like that against us is that if you open up space, then four, with or without Sincero, will kill you because there's so much speed and quality there. Like they're gonna rip you apart. The teams that we are going to, and we struggled against teams like that in Bielsa's time, Brownie, didn't we? Yeah. When teams used to just camp. I remember playing Barnsley. God, towards the end of that promotion season, Jesus, they just camped, and we managed to get a scrappy 1-0, and it were an own goal, and we didn't concede a lot of goals back then, though.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. You'll love playing against Warnock this season, then, because I think that's all.
Hang on, what's the date? What's the date for that?
I think that's what it's going to be.
Do you know what we have to do? We'll have to try and do a match reaction all together.
Yeah, God, it depends on result.
No, Jay, no, it doesn't.
That will be incredible.
I'm happy to do that, but I think also, that you're right. Like teams like Ipswich, they're quite expansive, but can they break teams down that are going to camp? I know they've played a lot against them sort of teams in League One by habit, but when you come up to the Championship, it's another level, isn't it?
The quality difference is
the sitting back in the Championship is not like the sitting back in League One. So but I think Preston's been the surprise, if I'm being totally honest.
What is going on there? Top of the league, 13 points. 4 wins on the bounce. I mean,
it's early days, though, isn't it? Like, I'm not getting carried away with nothing with the league table yet. Like, there's so much football to be played. I mean, and there's so many managerial changes that'll happen. Like, I had my opinions on Middlesbrough at the beginning of the season, and so far it's kind of looking that way. But there's nothing to say that, because manager changes will happen. Like, if this carries on, he's going to go, and then somebody else comes in and gets hold of him, who knows what can happen. And that's the great thing about the Championship, isn't it? Like, things can just swing around.
You almost don't want to start too well, don't you? You almost don't want to. You don't want to peak, do you? First 10 games.
But I will say this about Ryan Lowe: he's a very good manager again. Very
top manager.
Very underrated. Yeah. Speaks very well. So he sort of suits Preston as a club, I think. Underdog style lad who's he were never the greatest footballer, were he? And them sort of characters do well at clubs like Preston. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did fold away a little bit, but I still think they're going to have a very good season, if I'm honest.
Success for Preston's top half, isn't it? Like,
it is.
So 100%, I agree.
What about Leicester? Leicester dropping points as well. They lost. I mean, I was so happy to see that. I've got to say,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, just get them pegged back a bit.
You see, Brownie, this is the thing as well, right? So when we talk about, and I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't be disappointed with not winning the game, but we took a point. Well, Leicester have been going into the game against Hull at home expecting to get 3 points and they got none. Southampton would have been expecting to get something away at Sunderland and got none.
Norwich at Rotherham.
Norwich away at Rotherham. Who would have ever seen that? They lost. Huddersfield, beating West Brom. I'd put that into the same pool of kind of results. So, when you think about it and you look at it, it's still another point on the board, and it's a point up on the teams around us that got none. So
that's why
Leicester losing none.
That's why the Championship's amazing. I mean, we played Leicester and they only beat us 1-0, and it was only because Nichols made a mistake. If he saves that, which he should do, it's 0-0. It's a 0-0 game all day, and we've taken a point off a team that spent 45 million quid.
Steve,
You know,
Leicester's results have not been convincing at all this season.
No, they haven't.
You look through their results, you look through their performances, more importantly. They were fortunate on the opening day of the season against Coventry. Mark Robbins got it really wrong that day. They were cruising until they made the subs and brought Hamer off. I forget the individual games after that, but they've only won by a goal in the games that they've won.
Should have beaten us, Jay.
I know. I believe you.
They've got a bigger wage bill than what Newcastle did when they were down here, and they had a great squad. But this Leicester squad, when you've got players like Iheanacho, Ndidi, Vardy comes off the bench.
Yeah,
you don't even start now. That's how unbelievable that Leicester squad is. Who would have thought Leicester, who won the Premier League in 2015, will be playing in the Championship 8 years later and not even starting Jamie Vardy? Like, if you'd have said that in 2015, you'd have said, right, well, you're on drugs and we're locking you in a prison, a mental asylum.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick mention for our League Two friends, Bradford City, 0-0 draw against Mansfield. That leaves them in 15th.
I loved Hughes' comments, by the way. Did anybody see it after the game? He said, if you paid money into that game, you might as well have not done.
Nice. That's a way to enamor you to the fans, isn't it?
He said, what did he say? He said, oh yeah, if it was a game or match of the day, it would have definitely been last.
Yeah, my friend, he's cursing how boring they are City at the moment and the lack of attacking incentive. And Hughes is from that kind of old school, isn't he? I know he was kind of known as someone who kind of revolutionised Stoke when he took over Stoke after Tony Mowbray and made him a little bit more attacking.
Sleepwalking into a nothing season, Bradford. I'm telling you,
they are
sleepwalking into a nothing season.
100%.
There's been a bad vibe all pre-season and everything, though, hasn't there?
Since the playoffs, and you know he did throw it away. Really, they were lucky to get through the home leg with a lead, really. And then he went up there and just got it so wrong. And I think, Bradford fans were fully... It's one thing if you lose in a semi, it's another if you lose in a final. And the least I think they were expecting when they drew Carlisle is to get to the final.
Yeah.
So
if he sacked his finish as a manager, for me,
I agree.
At Football League level, where else can he go? I mean...
Huddersfield.
No, Browney, we're above Bradford City. Right, I don't understand your fascination with Hughes.
I just want to see your face when it's announced Mark Hughes taking over from Warnock.
Do you know what I want to see? I want to see Hackaday back at Leeds, being Leeds boss. That's what. Do you know what?
He's managing some futsal team somewhere. Leave him alone.
Do you know what we saw on the some town? Apparently, because Rangers, I think, were on Sky this weekend, or last weekend, sorry. And Fotheringham was stubbed with Jurgen Klinsmann, and it's like, what?
Why?
Why? Why is Jurgen standing with a man that doesn't even know what a football pitch looks like? I just I can't. It is unbelievable, that period of our history. It's like it never existed. It's like in 50 years, people will look back and just think, you were there. You actually you actually talked and saw the games he managed. That's how mad that period of town history is. Without Fotheringham, we don't get Warnock back. That's how important Mark Fotheringham was to Huddersfield Town Football Club. He was that rubbish. We then managed to shock ourselves into some sort of a live system again, like being on an operating table, and finally thought, I tell you what, we better employ a half decent manager here.
I feel like that about League One days, mate. That's exactly how I feel about the League One days. When I think about some of the away games that I used to go to, and some of the players saying,
but it's the same. It's the same with you. I look at Leeds back in the day when you've had Brian McDermott, Hackaday, and Steve Evans all in the same period as Leeds United managers. Like, you just look at it and you just what did both our football clubs think at that point in time?
I liked Brian Mack, I liked Brian Mack.
I like Brian McDermott.
It was unfortunate that he kind of fell at a time where he had the mad Italian and we had everything going on, because I quite liked him, to be honest, and he'd obviously been successful.
Yeah, but Steve Evans going and buying a fake Leeds badge to stick onto his shirt.
The Mexican hat. Do you remember when he came out in the sombrero?
Yeah.
What an idiot.
It's unbelievable, because when people mention it, I'm like, oh my god, that actually happened.
Yeah, that did
Yeah, that's
happen.
what I'm
I
saying,
can't
Steve.
believe,
Yeah.
you're just like, what? There's
That's
so
what-
much bad stuff I've kind of erased from my memory, but
I remember
hilarious.
watching Sky Sports News that was transfer deadline day, wasn't it? Was it in January when McCormack came out with that statement and refused to
Yeah.
play for Leeds,
And then he played the next day.
and then he
scored.
played him the next day because he had no choice because you are all injured players, so he had no choice. And McCormack was just standing there up pitch like, well, I didn't want to be here. I put out a statement about 15 hours ago saying I didn't want to be here, but you've some reason for playing me.
Redfern took the game, didn't he, the day after?
Yeah.
Because McDermott had been sacked and then reinstated. And then McCormack scored 4 as didn't we thump Sheffield Wednesday like 5?
Yeah, you won.
It was ridiculous.
You won because he got sacked, reinstated. Redfern took the game. McCormack came out and said that he didn't want to play because it was live on Sky Sports News.
Oh, it was wild.
And then you beat Sheffield Wednesday 4-1 or something. That was peak. That's peak EFL. That for me. That just goes to a point of history where you had to be watching in that 48 hours of football.
This is what annoys me though, because now we were supposed to get to the Premier League and we were supposed to be on our upward trajectory. We were supposed to be like Aston Villa. I'm looking at now. Brighton. I'm looking at all these clubs going, we're supposed to be in that party.
But that's the same with us. I remember playing Brighton in League One, and we were two of the best teams in League One at the time. And now to see Brighton and what they've done with the Premier League money and how we wasted it, it's just a sliding doors moment of how two football clubs can go in opposite directions is unreal.
The crazy thing is, right? Like, I know we've had jibes before about like the size of town and the expectation levels of a club like Huddersfield as a comparison to Leeds, but Huddersfield in comparison to Brighton, there's literally no difference. If anything, I'd say Huddersfield are bigger than Brighton. Like,
historically, we are.
Historically, you're miles bigger than Brighton, but I'm talking in terms of like the attraction, the area. Like, sure, Brighton's on the seaside, but it's not a particularly nice area, by the way. It's not an affluent area or anything like that. Like, it's a crazy what they've done and how Tony Bloom has got that whole club operating is just. They should teach it to people that are learning business degrees at university.
100%. And that manager that they've got now, you'd have never said that they got a better manager than Potter. No. And now they've got a manager that's 10 times better than Potter.
Better.
I mean, honestly, they should sign him down to a 10-year contract. I don't care because you'll never.
Chelsea will do that next year, I bet. Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Have you seen the? Have you seen the video?
all of other Brighton staff, haven't they?
Well, I was going to say there was a video going around. I don't know if it was Twitter or something, and it was basically showing all these like Brighton exports to Chelsea and how they're absolutely bombing. And it showed like Caicedo tripping over the ball and all this kind of thing. You think, oh my! I mean, how much money have Chelsea given to Brighton for management, staff, players? It's absolutely.
I watched a video, and their stadium cost 95 million quid to build, the Amex, and I think they built it from 2012, I want to say 2013 maybe, and with one deal, the Caicedo deal, they've paid off the ground over and everything.
Genius.
And they've got money in the banks. They sold McAllister for 50 million. They sold the sporting director gave up his role and he went to Chelsea, and that were like a £2 million compensation deal. Potter and all his staff were £12 million compensation deal. Like. And where's it got Todd Bowley? It's got him nowhere, does it? Like, don't get me wrong. They're a decent side now. Jackson's a decent striker, I think.
But it's just a mishmash. It's just like
there's no thought process.
There's no thought process at all.
They're playing Football Manager. They're just like.
But you look at Ferguson, and they've brought him through from Basingstoke Town. I mean, that's. It's a terrible story for Basingstoke because they've got nothing out of it. I don't know if you've read Henry Winter's article, but it's so for them it's really rubbish. But for Brighton, it's unbelievable. 16-year-old kid, and he's now 18, and he's scoring for fun.
Hat-tricks, crazy. Talking about bad recruitment.
You talking about Evan Ferguson?
Yeah.
He came from the Irish leagues.
But there's a kid, isn't there? They bought Brody something, and they've bought him from Basingstoke. I've not read the full article, but if you go onto Henry Winter's Twitter and read it, it's a fascinating article. And Basingstoke are really like it's one of their best ever talents that they've brought through,
Right.
and Brighton's nicked it for like
We've not got
a
anything.
packet
way
of
it
salt and
goes,
vinegar
isn't it?
crisps.
Brighton will do that. Brighton will snoop them up, though.
They will?
They'll sweep them up. Talking about bad recruitment, have you seen the rumour about Rasmus Christiansen not being named in Roma's squad?
For
I'm just
Europe.
like-
It's
I
wild,
mean,
isn't it?
oh my God.
I have no sympathy though, because
No,
there's no way that anybody can have looked at the performances he put out last season and been like, yeah, he's the fullback for us. Like, it's unreal. And this is why scouting, like nowadays, I don't know what they do. Like some of them, I honestly don't know what they do. Like I found it nigh on impossible to get like proper work in football. It's because it's jobs for mates.
It's ram though. Everybody thinks that they can scout the next Messi, and they think it's an easy job, and that's why you only get these people that scout out absolute gems. You even go back to the George Best days where somebody went over to Ireland, watched George Best, and within one phone call he was signed for Man United. That don't happen anymore because clubs like to watch talent unless there's like a definite talent somewhere. You look at Bellingham. How long did it take for somebody to scout Bellingham? Quite a bit, really.
I mean, interesting. I mean, I won't say the name of the club or who said this because I don't know if they want this information out there. But we know someone in one of our contacts who says their club will only recruit based on data. It's got to be kind of the data has got to be there. Like, so it doesn't matter if you've seen them with your eyes or anything like that. And you do wonder, don't you, a little bit if it's too driven that way as well.
Some clubs are doing it by AI now, aren't they?
Yeah. Some are even worse. They do it by agent. That's the worst. And I won't mention the clubs, but I know of a few.
Wow.
Where the clubs are literally directed by agents of players who financially benefit from the deal happening. It's wild. Honestly, it's crazy.
Football is a wild west of sport, isn't it, really? It's mad. It's just mad.
Absolutely bonkers. All right then, guys. Well, anything else we want to cover before we depart? Or have we covered everything with our clubs? Do we think England international break, will you be watching it?
I couldn't care less. What? Is it a friendly? I don't even know.
No.
Is it a friendly?
Get Southgate out and get someone who plays good football.
No, but is it a friendly? Is it a qualifier?
A bit of Nations League, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like, why? Just why? Honestly, I don't understand the FA. Why did he put us in these crap competitions that nobody? Is anybody bothered?
Yeah,
nobody's bothered.
No.
Like,
I usually will watch it if I've got nothing else to do. That's kind of how I feel about any sort of friendly or Nations League. Obviously,
he's 4 games into season, Jay.
Yeah, I know.
And we're already having a break. Like,
I know.
Are you mad?
It's bloody annoying, isn't it? I know.
Yeah.
I hate this international.
I do think the international breaks come at a great time for both our clubs, by the way.
Yeah, they do. They are.
I'm more than happy for us to have 2 weeks off and let the club just settle down and players accustomed to Farkas ways and all the rest of it. So I'm not complaining, but I hear you. I hear you completely.
I hate having a rubbish result though before an international break, and you've just got 2 weeks of just sitting and stewing about a crap result.
That's why it's so good for us, because the lads will be buzzing now. They'll have gone home. Some have gone back to London and whatever, but Warnock said to him to be careful. I love that. In fact, he doesn't. He's managed in London and he don't trust London. It's brilliant. But the fact that they'll be buzzing now and they'll come back into training. It'll be a real buzz. And then we got Rotherham, and it's a game that we can just win. That's what
massive game for you, is that?
Yeah, but it's a game that we can win. It's a game that 100% we can win. But I get what you're saying, Steve. But I've had it for the last couple of years where we've been tonked like on a numerous occasions before going into international break, and I just think, just why? Just
Browney, we're undefeated in 3. What's wrong with you?
Undefeated in 3.
Yeah. We drew against West Brom, beat Ipswich, drew against Sheffield Wednesday. Come on,
it's something, isn't it?
About the way
it's not a great. It's not a great result, though, is it, Jay? I
was disappointed with the result.
I get where Steve, to say that we've just been battering Sheffield Wednesday or Wendy's for half an hour. Saying how rubbish they
terrible.
are. It's not a great result for you, lads.
It's definitely not a great result.
I can't believe you didn't win that game with the shots that you had. By the way, my mate, the Leeds fan that I said earlier on, he said, "What is the only shot you don't do in Rutter's position?" And it's a chip, and it's what he did, and he even got that wrong. So
you do that when you're buzzing off loads of confidence. That's when you can pull that moment off.
Well, I thought it were offside or something like that.
That's what I think.
No, don't give him excuses.
I do. I think he thought it was offside.
Yeah, he had to. He was just
just put your foot
35 million. It's not his fault, but yeah. Anyways, if you've enjoyed the video, if you've watched this live, or if you've seen it later, please smash a like on the video, share it with your mates, subscribe to the channel as well. We'll be back on the channel later in the week for a little non-league roundup as well.
Thank you.
Well, international break. So we'll see what comes up for our clubs in the next couple of weeks. If there's anything that we need to shout about, we'll get on stream and do it. I've been Stephen Brown, but I want to thank my guests as well. Jayson, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you.
Steve, pleasure as always, mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.